Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host. And folks, I tell you, we're just going to get right into this particular show. As you know, we're right in the midst of elections. We are picking leadership. We're picking leadership across the state of Oregon. And by George, we are in dire need, if you will, of leaders here within this particular state. Well, for the country for that matter, but the focus here is Oregon. And so that basically will be the bulk of our show. We've got, we're going to have two segments, one of which is going to be talking to a senatorial candidate, state senatorial candidate, and the other will be about an issue that we're all concerned with, and that's the whole issue of guns and weapons and things of that nature. And as you know, we're sitting pretty well in the swamp area, as they tend to identify it here in the Portland metropolitan area. It has an impact on the entire state. And so consequently, we're gonna have a gentleman that's going to be talking to that and talking the whole issue of solutions, because everybody's afraid right now. We've got problems. And so, again, that will help, if you will, towards educating not only the public, but also those individuals who are going to be elected to office that are going to be basically taking the lead. And that's what this is all about. So, but at the same time, we want to start off with, we've got our guest. You've seen, you know who George is, and when he was running for governor, I always referred to him as Governor, Governor Carrillo. But George has been quite. He's a very individual. He's a very outstanding individual. He's very familiar with the issues and the concerns of this state, and I really appreciate. I'm sure the state of Oregon valued the fact that he did run for office. He happens to be Hispanic. But more than that, he happens to be a jarhead, a former Marine Corps. Well, there's no such thing as a former, a Marine. and he's been around, and I'm really excited about the fact that he did run for governor again. Thank you very much, George, for doing that.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bruce.
Yes,
Love coming back on the show.
Yes, very much so. And then we got John. That name from John Valise?
John Velez.
John Velez.
Yes.
Velez, okay. Mm-hmm. John Velez. John's interesting. He happens to be a realtor, as his profession for that matter. So he's been knocking on doors for quite some time. But better than that, he knows his territory. He knows his lane. And I want to thank you very much for running. It's not an easy task during that particular time. But knowing people and being in the people business is a very important piece in what we're doing, because you got to communicate to people, and that's the key to this whole business. So I want to thank you very much for running.
Absolutely.
But before we get into your campaign in terms of what do you bring to the table for the state of Oregon, we're going to talk a little bit about Hispanic Latino Month.
Okay.
You know, it's here now, and we basically we are a multitude of cultures here within this country, and it's always very important for the public to get a better feel of all of us. A lot of times we're talking about the whole issue of the borders and all kinds of the things that are so political aspect of it.
Yeah.
But we truly have a quite a community, if you will, and residents of Hispanic and Latino background. So with that, then we start off with first off, why don't we just start off with George? You know, he's on another campaign right now. He's basically running another campaign with one of the three women that are running. Am I fair?
That's right, with Christine Drazen.
Yeah, good. I mean,
right.
he know who she was. See that? See how sharp he is? So what do you think, buddy? How's it going out there?
You know, I think it's going really well. The polls, another poll just came out, and there was 2 debates last week, and we can clearly see that Christine is still leading in the polls, 4 polls in a row now, and she did an outstanding job on Tuesday and on Thursday with both televised debates, and I really think that Christine's going to be able to pull it off. And then also, too, on top of that, talk about the Latino Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yes.
All of that is just, a wonderful opportunity for us to continue to educate the public, to let them know who we are. We're about 14% of the population here in Oregon, and we just have a very rich family history, and we love this opportunity to be able to just be with more Oregonians and having them learn more about us and kind of leave the big media national presence of who Latinos and Hispanics are We're hardworking people with a rich culture and a great family background.
Well, I appreciate that last part because, in all due respect, we're lacking of leadership, public-wise, of individuals that could probably resolve some of those problems. You know, I mean, that's a very important piece because, you know, and that's important. So now we do have a presence of individuals that could maybe deal with the whole issue of sanctuary cities, of the border issues, of the drugs issue aspect of it. And when the Hispanics and Latinos are highlighted, it's got all in a sort of a negative fashion aspect of it.
Well, that's why, Bruce, like, we have to come together as black and brown people and
Yes.
support individuals when they're putting themselves out there.
Yes.
I know how difficult it is to run a race, especially statewide. Now, John, he's running, you know, for a House district, and it's very competitive, and we need to be able to support him. You know, he is one of us, and that's one of the reasons, for many other reasons that I'll let John today discuss about, but that's the reason why I'm pulling my full endorsement and support into John. He represents the community where I live and my wife and my children, where we all live in. And this is the right pick for this House district.
Great, great.
Not House district, sorry, Senate
Senate,
district.
Senate, yeah,
District,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, Latinos and black and brown BIPOC need to show up for John.
Okay, sounds good. Well, John?
Well, George, thank you very much for the endorsement. I really, truly, it's an honor to have that endorsement. I'm looking forward to be the voice for the Hispanic community in my district. And for everyone that lives in my district, I'm looking forward to look out for the best interests. I'm running because I'm tired that, you know, that what's happening right now, what you see in the news, is just something that I want to pitch in and do something better. Crime is rampant, is coming to all communities already. And so that is very concerning to me. Now having the tolls in place is something that I couldn't stand back and watch. It is going to affect every single Oregonian in the state because they're going to impose the tolls here, and then from here they're going to go statewide. So it is something that the voters did not have a chance to vote on this, and it's very concerning. And this is why one of the reasons I'm doing this.
What are some of the other issues that are impacting you?
Thank you for asking that question. Some of the issues, the second issue that I want to talk about too, is a lot of seniors are being forced out of their homes because the property taxes keep going up 3% every year, and the income doesn't go up, including disabled veterans that also live in a fixed income, but the property taxes keep going up. So it already has forced some of them to move back with the kids. It's forcing some of them to choose between medication, food, or taxes. And I think those people that pay the taxes for most of the life, that we should give them a break. And this is I'm very passionate about that because I've been as a realtor for over 17 years, and I have sold properties to them, and I see how they struggle. So one of the other issues that I'm running on, our schools are ranking number 48 out of 50 in the whole nation. 48 out of 50. We used to be number 2. It's an embarrassment to have our school district to be so, the Oregon school district, once you leave this area, if you go to Southern Oregon or Eastern Oregon, some of the schools are going to, they're teaching kids 4 days out of week because they don't have the funds available. And it's embarrassment. I think we should do something better to bring back our schools' graduation rates up to 2%, at least to be back in the top 5.
And you bring up a good point about the education system. It's always been a major problem here within the state. I've always felt there's a solution that you pay them after you pay them on results.
That's right.
They get half the check up front,
Yeah.
and then half when we see these kids being productive and working.
Yeah, kids that graduate from high school, maybe not all of them wants to go to college or actually can afford to go to college or do not want to go to college. It may be not a good idea for them to go to college. Rather than doing that, we should have more programs so they could learn how to do welding, do carpentry, build houses.
Trades,
Trade schools is just as important as it is universities and colleges, because those are very good paying jobs we need nowadays. So an electrician, plumbers, wow, they make a very good living. Those are very good living waging jobs that we need to bring back to the kids so that they could have a trade after they graduate from high school and those trade schools.
What about some of these other issues that you see on the tube that everybody sees? Because a lot of times, a lot of folks don't really look at media, but the fact of the matter is they are impacted, if you will, within their respective community. The homeless issue, you got the homeless issue aspect of it, and naturally after dark, that's when all the shootings and this, that, and the other, and cars driving in the neighborhoods and kids, just a whole different ball game. But that's our young folks in many ways. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, unfortunately, it's something that, again, we didn't have a choice on turning some of those bills, especially Measure Bill 110. Measure Bill 110 is horrible. It has no teeth to the law. I've done some ride-along with police officers in my community. You would not believe what you see after 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Luckily, we have really good police department in my community, in Sherwood, King City, Sherwood, Wilsonville, King City, and Tiger. They actually have a police officer who is certified for mental health issues, accidents, or things that is important for somebody to be trained for that mental health issues. And they share that police officers because he's specialized and also certified to handle those cases. So our police department in Sherwood, they actually have a way to try to prevent crime before it happens. So after 10 o'clock at night, and I know this because I've done some ride-along with them, after 10 o'clock, they know exactly where to go before the accident, before the crime happened. So they also train our community business owners to look out for crime or for people that are kind of suspicious. And then at 10 o'clock, they just go and park their car in front of those, like Walmart, Target, other areas nearby. And so that's how, when they see the police officers there, then the criminals kind of step away from what they were going to do. And another part of this problem is that our state has been ruled for so many years with the same politicians that are just keeping things. Maybe the intention was good there, but having that Measure 110, it just decriminalizing drugs was a bad idea. Defunding the police was a bad idea. And so that's what that have created. It created a vacuum for so many people from other states to come here because now they think they could do drugs, everywhere, which it's insane. We need to stop that.
And this is just something that's just come out of the air. But when you start thinking about the whole issue of the defunding police, it's not. The word should not have been defund. It should have been vetting.
Vetting, yeah, I like that.
In vetting, because if you vet, you'll find that not in some cases, in many cases, many of the organizations are basically, you got more people sitting off the street as opposed to being on the street. These folks have all been trained as officers.
Yeah.
And just an idea. I'm just throwing something out there. You're the guy who'll be out there. But imagine if we had more of those people who were sitting behind those desks in the offices to be on the street. They would be able to deal with a lot of the issues aspect of it, and then hire civilians. You got folks who are going to school or whatever, or those individuals that might be interested in being police officers or whatever. Let them work behind those desks. Those folks who have been trained, put them on the street. I'm just throwing something out to you. Not one of my concerns.
Well, I think, when you look at it, though, most sworn law enforcement officers are on the street. The problem is when you look at Oregon has a ratio of 1.2 officers per 1,000. The national average is 2.4. We are far behind. We rank actually 48th in the country when it comes to cities, police per capita. So we are 48th.
That's
listening to this interview today,
yes,
right?
Yes.
There's a lot of areas that Oregon is dead last in. And this is another example. We don't have enough police presence. It's great that the Wilsonville, Sherwood, Tigard, they're all combining forces in order to be able to have one mental health specialist. Honestly, that's not enough.
No.
They need more support. They need more law enforcement presence. They need more partnership with behavioral health, because it would be great is if each department has a representative that is on call 24/7, because police officers, guess what, there's a police presence 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't matter what holiday there is, but we also need to support the police with behavioral health specialists and train them in behavioral health also around the clock.
That is a major issue. And in all due respect, there's a lack of leadership at the state level. And you're going to be sitting at that table with all of these representatives throughout the state. We need facilities. We used to have a large facility here in the Beaverton area called Damage. In all due respect, developers came in there and picked up the land because it was a prime piece of property, and they've not replaced it. You know, but that's happening all throughout the state to certainly. We just need some leadership. We need focus, and and hopefully that's what you're going to be bringing to that table. You got to convince some folks.
Yeah, we need more resources for, mental health, drug addiction. We need the facilities to put those people in those areas so that they could actually get back on their feet and also be, someone that might want to go back to working and be a good person in society. But when they're on the drug addiction and they have mental issues, they are going to have problems trying to, figure out how to get back on their feet. But we need to help them by emphasizing and bringing those resources so that they are, forced to, go into those facilities so that they could get better. Otherwise, because if they're on the drugs and mental health, they're always going to try to stay there. But if you push them a little bit, this is going to be good for you, then that might be the push they need to get better and to get back on their feet.
And then there's the job aspect of it. It's a social worker, so to speak, but in all due respect, it could be a trade. You know what I mean? And implement it in the educational system. Start early in K1 to K12, right? See what I'm saying? That's not happening. We don't have that point. Go on, George.
Well, I think, so many things have gone wrong in Oregon, especially with our regulations, our policy on how we tax corporations here and small business. We have all this money, but we're investing in the wrong areas. So now we have all this money and we need to build an infrastructure, but yet we don't have the workers to do it. We don't even have the people to do the work that we need. And that's a failure of our government. That's a failure of our education system. That's the reason why we need a different type of leadership. We need to have checks and balance in the system. Right now we don't. Single party control has led us in this direction. That's why we have to start supporting candidates like John in order to be able to bring some balance into our system and start changing it and putting us back on the right direction.
Maybe a couple of comments from you in regards to Christine. I saw those debates, by the way. There was some very interesting debates, and I saw two solid politicians. And then I saw a person who was fresh and looking for change, and I was lacking basically how she basically responded in some cases. She did not get into those volatile areas. In all due respect, race has always been an issue, and people are looking to the point now. They just, hey, look, what can't we do something different, if you will, and just deal with the issue of productivity and jobs and education and whatever. But I was saying to Joe, I'm sure you saw that. That's right.
What I saw was two politicians, two people that have groomed themselves to be able to get to that stage, and then I saw Christine Drazen, who has groomed herself to be a leader, and in the way that she responded, and the level of professionalism that she holds herself in each debate shows me that she is ready to be the next leader. She didn't get frustrated on the stage. She, you don't see her rolling her eyes or anything like that. She comes across as a true leader, willing to take punishment from both sides, but not deter from what her message is. And that's what takes. That's not a politician. That's a person that knows how to take the pressure from two very powerful individuals in the state.
And I noticed that she was the only one that basically identified with family.
Yes.
I thought that was a very important piece, especially now with all the outlining area aspect of it. We've always pretty well been focusing on the swamp here, and I do know what the swamp is all about. I saw that over there with my Marine here once he put his cover on.
You're never going to let it go.
I'm not going to let it go. I'm not going to let it go. No, I have fun with that one. I have fun with that one. But no, but I think we're living in a, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's a beautiful state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't have that weather from back east. You know, I tell people to visit but don't stay. I mean, that was a sign that I told Vic he should hang up on the. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, final thoughts. What do you think?
Well, I think if we have the voters to have the, you know, the information they need to make the decisions and know exactly what's happening. The big issue here is these tolls have been imposed to them with no vote. They don't have a say. This is something that I don't mind having tolls on the road, and most people that I talk to, they want something out of it. Having this and not knowing about it, because almost 50% of the doors that I have knocked, they're not aware what's happening with these tolls. They go like, "What tolls are you talking about?" And so I just tell them, "Hey, you know, I know you might not be up to date with this, but this is what's happening. They're going to start charging you $240 a month if you get on the freeways 5 days a week, starting in 2024." And then they go like, "Wait a minute, I don't want to pay $240 to get on the freeway. I have to go to work in downtown." So this is something that the people did not have a choice, did not have a voice, and we need to make it so that the people needs to have a voice on any decision that is going to impact our communities throughout the state, throughout my district. And this is one of the examples that we see that it was not fair.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, look here. I know as far as now, how do we get in touch with John?
Well, you could,
The rest of your messages.
my cell phone number, I could give that to you. It's
Put it out
very
there.
simple.
Put it
It's
out there.
503-625-1453. And my website is velezfororegon.com. And you could go in there, check out my website. There's a couple of issues that I'm running on. Each one of those issues, if you click on it, it will give you more specific information what we need to do to make our state better.
Okay, now I might add in terms of getting out to those.
Yes.
The whole idea is that you can Google it too, especially seniors. You know, we're not that familiar with all this website, this, that, and the other. But you can just go on your smartphone, and it's very simple. You know, just say, you mention your name, and guess who pops up?
Yeah.
You.
Should be me. Should be me.
And you got quite a line of both where you are and who you are and whatever.
Yeah.
So I would suggest to those viewing audience out there, Google his name. All you do is just Google his name, John Velez. That's
Velez.
it, just John Velez, and you got video in there too. I noticed that.
I have a video. The video talks a little bit about my humble beginnings. I came from a very humble beginnings, like I said. And you know, we all had to work to bring food on the table. Mm-hmm. We are a family of 11 kids. Wow. And a mother that, you know, she did everything she could to you know, help us grow, and she taught us the value of work ethics, and you know, it's the best teacher I ever had, and I'm so grateful for her, having her as my mother. And so, you know, we all needed to, like I say, pitch in, and thanks to her, I have the very strong work ethics, and I've been a business owner for most of my life because of her. And so I've been paying my taxes, and anyway, it's important to.
What kind of business are you doing? You mentioned that. Right?
I own real estate.
Okay.
Just my real estate office, and with a couple of buyers agents. I also have some rental properties, and we started a newspaper when I first started here. It was called Plain Shopper, and anyway, there was other businesses. I was a general contractor here in Portland for over 12 years. I was you know, restoring homes back to the original. And then before that, I was working for Enterprise for a couple of years while I was going to college. And so, you know, that's it.
Gee, George, homelessness. He's the solution.
We work hard and
don't tear them up, you know. Rehab them, right? Right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's a lot of jobs there too, boy.
There's a lot of
Demolition
jobs.
contractors, painters. You got plumbing. You got electrical. Oh wow, you're going to be sitting good if you're sitting up in that legislature. But most of those folks, they have no idea
Yeah.
what an electrician is.
We just need more land. We need more land to expand the building of new homes, and affordable housing is important. And it's very hard to find land nowadays. Even though Oregon is such a mass state with land, it's very land available to build. So we just need the government to give us extra land so that the builders could go in and do some more homes, affordable homes. And when you build a house, some cities charge somewhere between $50,000 to $60,000 just on application fees, just to get permits to build a house. That's a lot of money, which it get passed on to the consumers. So anyway.
Well, you know, that's a pretty hot, tough subject there. Because you think about, we got this big hit now that's being thrown on the table to all of us for that, man, as far as taxpayers are concerned.
Yeah.
And we got the homeless situation. And now all of a sudden it's just, you know, actually owning a home is a very major responsibility.
Yes.
And that is basically where you're supposed to be going to.
Yeah.
You got me? But in all due respect, in terms of affordability, being able to be a homeowner is another issue.
Yeah.
I mean, what we're looking at right now is guess who's going to be picking up the tab,
We are.
okay? And that's an area that folks are not, they've sort of shoved it around. They're not talking about this piece.
Yeah.
And then people are getting frustrated, and this, that, and the other. People don't want to work.
Yeah.
You got a lot of folks don't want to work. A lot of folks just say, well, the heck with the bills. I'll just go down and get myself a tent. I'll get far better opportunity than the person that's owning a home trying to struggle to make the payments. So
Well,
it's a job, but you got the background.
Well, I have the background, and I think what we need is more land. Like I say, we need to build more affordable homes, and the government has to help in and pitch in, and also get some grant from the federal government and start building, affordable homes, because it's right now it's all about supply and demand, and it's very little available, and whatever is available is through the roof in prices. They increase over the past 3 years, over 50% of what you used to be. So it's
But
really
remember,
insane.
John, this is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no such thing as a government. It's just sitting out there like some blob that's got a big bank account. No, it's the individuals that have to pick up the tab.
Yeah.
And too often we tend to forget that.
That's why we got to vote.
We've got to vote big time for the right folks,
Absolutely.
like John. Okay.
We
This has
just-
been great. Good luck to you. You got the signs here. You ready to go?
I'm
I
ready.
understand you got a gentleman sitting up here right now. He's ready to go. He's got the signs up here ready. You're knocking on doors, huh?
I've been knocking on doors every day. I just came from knocking on doors all morning. I met so many people every time. The last person that I met just set me down and said, hey, you need to just sit down for a little bit, have a glass of water. Thank you very much for running for office. We hope you win. And there's a lot of people are very, very grateful to see new, fresh idea coming out and talk to me, and that's that's every time I hear some really good comments like that, it just make me go farther and farther away to keep knocking on doors.
Well, we're really looking forward to you being there.
Thank you.
And addressing the issues that we need.
I
And I'm
appreciate
sure
that.
that George is not going to forget, because I'm not going to forget George. He knows that. So good luck to you, okay?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Fine. Again, folks, this is community television, so we're just going to go on and switch some chairs and let these guys go that way, and I'm going to bring on the other guests. And again, John, it's a pleasure.
Hey, it's a pleasure meeting you.
enough.
Thank you very
I'll be
much for
seeing
having me
again,
here.
okay?
Thank you. Thank
All right,
you.
Good. Take most of these, and
Okay.
I'm going to take some of these.
Okay. Wonderful.
All
Good
right.
deal.
Okay.
Thank you. Should I take my sign?
Thanks,
out?
George.
Okay. Take my
Okay,
sign.
yeah, go on, no problem. There you go, good. All right, come on in. Yeah. There we go, looking good. Come on in here. Okay. Sounds great, looking good. Boy, I tell you, we have quite a day today. Gee whiz, that was quite an interview. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, really good.
We brought some issues out, and this, that, and the other, and we definitely
Good fresh face.
Very, very much so. Very much so. Well, guess what? We got this second half hour aspect of it, and we got another candidate.
No, not a candidate.
No, we got a name. We got to put it there for the lay people. You've been knocking on a lot of doors too, in an indirect way, right?
Yes.
All right? Well, I'm just doing a few things out here to Carrie Spargan. Is that right?
Spurgeon.
Spurgeon. That's right. He said Spurgeon to me. I haven't fishing lately, baby. Kerry Spurgeon, okay, with that. But anyway, Kerry's going to be here. He's president of the Oregon State Shooting Association. Okay, and you know the issue that we have here, and I got John Sweeney here, and John has been talking about the weapons he's been a co-host here for so long. I mean, he's just taken over everything, so to speak. I thought we'd solve that gun problem, but we've been having problems just trying to get someone to just come in and talk about these issues. But John was here. We all talked about it, and it is an issue. It's a major issue, and the people out there are really in need, if you will, of some sense of relief, if you will, to know that a weapon is a weapon, and firearms aspect of it. Sometimes it can be an enjoyment aspect of it, but what's happening today is that once the lights go out, we've got all kinds of shootings, especially here in Portland, in the Portland metropolitan area, the county aspect of it. And sure, it happens throughout Oregon, but this is a focus, and as you can see, all of the media, that's pretty well what they focus right at the beginning of all of the media. They talk to shootings. Mm-hmm. They don't talk about anything positive along that line. It's all about the shootings aspect of it. And you know, and John and I, we know that you can drive 15 minutes out of Portland and you won't have the same issue. Think about that. 15 minutes. Really, it's really a sad situation. So anyway, I'm kind of throwing a little few pieces and whatever.
Agreed.
But hey, here's my guest again. My guest is again, as I indicated, Kerry Spurgeon, and the Oregon State Shooting Association. John is here, and John has also been part of that association. In fact, he's a member of that association, and we want to thank you. Trust me, I want to thank you because I've been really getting on John to bring someone here to deal with this issue, which is a major concern, and I happen to be a lifetime member of the NRA.
Thank you. So
Yeah, I'm a member of the NRA, and I'm not a hard-nosed guy, but I mean, that was part of who I was when I was in the Corps, and when I got out, I just basically picked that membership up. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the guys but the fact of the matter is, we understand what the weapon is all about. This is not a war zone per se aspect of it, and yes, there has been some problems that I've had, and I've written to the NRA about that piece, even to the board members, because there are people of color that are sitting on that board. I'm very familiar with that kind of a situation, but we got to bring it back home here now, and I really think that we could possibly be a shining light here in the state of Oregon. We really can. We're not that bad. We're not, excuse the French, we're not a back east kind of folks.
right.
Whatever. We're here in Oregon aspect of it. So look, I said enough. Let's go on, Kerry. You just take the ball and run
Okay.
with it. Okay.
Well, first a little bit about myself. I've been in Oregon since 1984. Spent my career here and just recently retired. But something that's been with me since I was a youngster is I've been a part of shooting sports, training, being a part of national and international teams representing this country, and it's something where I've been able to have goals and develop, and I've tried to return that to the shooting sports community and help others have goals and achieve. Just like any sport, like soccer, baseball, you do well on the field of play. It helps you as a person. It helps you move forward. Shooting sports has been my deal, including the Olympians that we've trained.
That's right.
That have come out of Oregon, out of our programs. The Oregon State Shooting Association develops programs for responsible gun owners, competitions, developing ranges, developing safety programs. Our biggest element right now is around safety. Basic firearm safety, basic storage. We do have this bill that was passed this last year, but even before then, responsible storage. With key programs that we've been driving all along. Keeping our children safe is another key pillar in our safety program. With with keeping children safe, we have active programs from the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Their Project Child Safe is an amazing program that educates and takes the mystery out of this for all age categories. It's age appropriate. And what it does is it takes the curiosity away so that we don't have people doing things. We don't have young people doing things that they shouldn't. They'll stop, they'll go away and talk to an adult, right? And that's how you keep children safe, is you hit it directly. Last thing that Oregon State Shooting Association is doing that is, quite frankly, different than a lot is that we are running key programs around combating suicide, saving lives through reducing suicide. And we partnered with the Oregon Firearms Safety Coalition, a group of like-minded organizations, and we're driving, getting time and distance, and helping people prevent suicide. Okay. And that's a key pillar of our safety program. That's also consistent with why we're here today, and that is saving lives.
Okay. Saving lives.
We are here to save lives. As with any issue, there's different approaches, and the current issue is that we want to save lives and reduce gun violence. We feel our safety program is key for this. We also feel that there's other approaches, but today we have on the ballot ballot
Right.
measure 114.
Right. Okay.
And we struggle with ballot 114, and as a shooting sports organization, we struggle with how it's going to save lives. There's a number of issues around ballot measure 114 that concern us. One is that it blocks our efforts to prevent suicide. That's going to cost lives. We're preventing law-abiding citizens for exercising their rights in firearms ownership, and it's through the new permit system. Let's back up. Ballot measure 114 has two key components. The first component is that it implements a permit to purchase. That permit to purchase includes an additional background check,
Okay.
the same one that's already done,
Okay.
and we'll talk about the issues of that. The other key component of ballot measure 114 is it limits the magazine size on guns or on firearms. We'll talk about the issues there as well, because there's a lot of unintended impacts from this ballot measure. So our biggest concerns is that ballot measure 114 will cost lives because it's blocking our efforts around suicide prevention. You want more details about that? It's on our website, for sure, and a great video. The other thing about ballot measure 114 is it is another law, which is laws are good if they are effective, but unfortunately, when we talk about gun violence, firearms violence, it's not the lawful people that are committing these crimes. There's already laws against that, so we fear that it's not going to be it's not going to impact criminal intent or actions, and certainly deterring domestic violence is it going to be effective? So some of the issues with ballot measure 114 is that it generates a mandate to have our law enforcement create a permit to purchase system with education and classes, which we support education and classes. That's how we create responsible gun owners. The cost of this is going to be an additional 300 officers. The facilities are going to run in the neighborhood of $200 million, $40 million annually to operate this. And the current law enforcement officials, Oregon State Sheriff's Association doesn't even support this because they don't have the resources to do that. In the last segment, we heard that we're 48th in support of our law enforcement, 48th in the states, and we're going to ask them to do this. It's not resourced, and our law enforcement is not supporting this. The permit requirements for this measure are not defined. And there are issues with permits such as this in other states, New York, for example, that have been rehauled, and we need to be careful there. The background check that is being implemented with this is the same background check that we all have every time we purchase a firearm. It is implementing that background check to create a permit to purchase, a card to be able to go to the gun store. That current background check sometimes takes 6 months, a year, or more for individuals. And the implementation of that just puts another hurdle in front of law-abiding citizens being able to exercise their Second Amendment rights. This permit to purchase is going to be a database. It is going to be publicly available. In other words, anyone can ask for your information. That doesn't seem right to law-abiding, responsible gun owners. Another issue that we're very concerned about is the permit process will disproportionately affect populations in our communities. It forces an additional hurdle for people to go to the law enforcement officials, go to the classes, go to the and ask for this permit and be assigned. I think every voter should read the voter's pamphlet. You're going to see statements in favor. You're going to see statements opposed. You're going to see statements from some of these populations, BIPOC and others, that are opposed to this. Okay, so I want everyone, the reason I'm here is I want everyone to understand what are the impacts of this bill. It's not just the title, it's what are the impacts. I want to encourage everyone to read the voter's pamphlet, absorb those pieces. I'll try to highlight a few of things along the way. Okay. The ballot measure 114, I'm going to go back to the suicide prevention. It's been a strong push for us in this last year and a half. And one of the key issues for suicide prevention is to have friends, buddies, be able to connect with each other and say, hey, if you're having troubles, I'm here, right? And I can help you with securing the firearms to make sure that there's time between distance, because suicide is an 8 or 10 minute thing. It's a crisis. It's a mental crisis. And with that, if there's time and distance between you and your firearms during that period, suicide is averted. Okay? And unfortunately, this bill makes it so that you and I both have to have this permit that we can't obtain because it's not defined and not resourced. So I can't help you legally. I become a criminal if I help you secure your firearms. Okay? So the last item, and I'm going to keep this one really short because 10-round magazines, do you need one? I'm on a national team. I shoot one shot at a time at 1,000 yards, right? That's what I do. But there are common firearms out there today that have more than 10 rounds in their magazine. These common firearms are actually used by our law enforcement. Okay? The 10-round magazine, as it is defined in this measure, also applies to the common shotguns that you got from your grandfather. because the magazine can be extended. So it virtually criminalizes common firearms, such as a common pump shotgun with a tube fed. And so it goes a little too far. We tried to help them better understand and define, and it didn't go over. So what we'd like to do is to make sure that everyone understands these pieces of what's going into this law and the impacts. We would like to save lives instead of having more regulation, right? And to save lives, just as you were talking about in the last segment, is supporting our law enforcement, having the presence in the community, having the mental health presence in the community. We also have a couple of other very key programs that have been passed in previous laws. One is talk about suicide prevention again, is the last law that was provided, Senate Bill 554. We would like to amend parts of it, again, to further facilitate the prevention of suicide, helping our friends be able to secure their firearms more easily, and so that it's safe for them and safe for others. We have a background check system today. It's called NICS. It's called NICS. Okay, we use it across the country. It's what was put in place decades ago. Oregon, in the last 10 or 15 years, has also signed on to put all mental health issues and barriers to firearms ownership into the system, so that when you do a background check, it sees if you're available, if you're restricted or not, and says no, you can't. We need to use that system better. More often than not, we see in these tragic events that occur, and we, as responsible gun owners, we're as sickened as anyone on that. We see that more often than not, individuals in this case are known by officials. They are known by medical officials. They are known by family members as being at risk. We need to use the system to be able to make sure that they're blocked from purchase. It's there for that purpose. The other thing we have is that Oregon has what they call an Extreme Protection Act, Extreme Protection Law. If a family member is concerned about another family member, they can go to a judge and petition to have that person restricted. A law enforcement agent can also do the same thing. They could have done this in Illinois. The law enforcement knew of this person. Okay. We need to use that law. It takes it to a judge. It offers due process at the second stage, but most importantly, it can save lives. And that's what we're here for, is being safe and saving lives.
Okay. That's good. I thought it was presented quite well. We got about 10 minutes.
Okay.
And I want to hit on a couple of the points that, let's say, where the majority sits. Those folks who are, as you say, domestic violence aspect of it, folks that just is maybe not so sophisticated enough,
Okay.
et cetera, et cetera. But the whole thing was the assault weapons thing, you know what I mean? And the fact that the availability a lot of times of the weapons are just probably being brought up from the standpoint of burglaries and, and back, open the trunk kind of thing, all kinds of things that make these weapons available, you know what I mean? And I'm just throwing that out, from the standpoint, because when you start thinking about the assault weapons and things of that nature, sometimes a lot of guys just basically will bring their weapons from I remember when I was in Vietnam, people would bring their weapons home, just as a reminder, and it was just part and parcel of what they had. I'm just throwing some things out, aspect of it, and a lot of times people will be breaking in these homes, whatever, and they get these weapons, you got me, and they're out on the street. And so the concern is, how do we stop that? I mean, what about the insurance companies? Are they involved in the deal? You know, from the standpoint of when a person purchases a weapon or whatever, they're basically told. We went through that whole process of making sure we had a secured environment thing, and even on the weapons and whatever. But where are we there? How much time do we audit that kind of stuff just to make sure that we're doing it? Aspect of it, not the guys who are really more responsible to do it. You got me? Or even the sport activists. You know, a lot of times people just want to go on the range and just fire weapons. You know, things that they've had. But it's the fact that those weapons are available in many ways to folks openly. What do we do about that?
Okay.
That's where they're coming. You know where I'm coming from?
Okay, so
We got about 8 minutes.
so we got about 8 minutes. That's
We're gonna come
we've
back.
got
We're
we've
gonna
got
have
time
you
for
come
this
back.
one and maybe the
Okay,
next
good,
one,
yeah.
hopefully.
I'll
Okay.
have you come back.
You know, when you say if someone has a firearm, and I think in the heart of your discussion was, it gets away from them, it gets stolen. Okay, so in the recent year, Senate Bill 554 was implemented, and that implementation was around safe storage. We called it responsible storage up front, and that's making sure that you have access to your firearms restricted to those that are approved by you to do that. Owning a firearm, whether it's a bolt-action rifle or whether it's a modern sporting rifle, is a responsibility, and we need to take those responsibilities to heart. As responsible gun owners, we do that. Okay, and Senate Bill 554, although another law, it does implement some of those requirements. It needs to restrict the access when it's not under your direct control. Okay. I think we should work out how that is enforced first
Okay.
before we implement more laws.
Okay.
But again, it comes back to having the law enforcement availability and help, and being able to support law enforcement so they can enforce these things. They're not in a position to support the current ballot measure that's before us. But it is a responsibility when you have a firearm, having access to it. When it is stolen, that is a criminal event. Okay, we talked about supporting law enforcement and creating, or not creating, but enforcing the current laws to their fullest extent. There are minimums when firearms are involved. There are minimum sentences. We should be using those. We shouldn't be negotiating them down. Let's make it unpleasant when firearms are involved. It should not be the go-to. There's too much at stake.
Well, you know, I really appreciate you being here. This is just a one of series, man. We're going to have you come back again and talk a bit more about this, because in all due respect, the thing that comes up right now, they're training new officers and whatever. And I'm thinking about the idea of vetting, if you will, the whole issue of firearms and how they use them and things of that nature. Being involved from an association standpoint, being involved and coming up with a law that makes sure that the dots are dotted, they dot the I's in regards to the training, if you will. Get involved in making sure that you guys have signed off on that piece.
The current law requires training, and the training is that training that is certified by law enforcement, which doesn't have the resources to do so. And so we're going to have to get around that.
But I'm just saying,
and the proponents of this law point to the rulemaking that is involved after a ballot measure is if it were to pass, and they will reinterpret the ballot measure that is being voted upon by the people. They're not going to implement the ballot measure as it's written, because it cannot be implemented. They're going to reinterpret it.
I would have liked to have seen more of you involved before this issue hit the table.
We're here.
And I shared this with you from the standpoint at the beginning. You know, thanks to John, you know, you're here, you know, and we've always had John in, and John has always we've talked about this piece aspect of it, but we need to get a little bit more involved, because I understand the issue from the standpoint of being able to go out on the range, you know what I mean, as part and parcel of who you are and what you're doing. The Olympics got involved, and all the other sports are pretty well accepted. But there's the lacking, if you will, of vetting those entities. I think that's where we've gotten, you know, to a certain degree. And the crime situation, you got my point? Is it a felony? I'm just saying, The laws should be done so that the people would know.
Right. You know, when we talk about crime, you know, we talk about, again, the people that are known to the legal system. 70% in the years 2019 through 2022, in the most recent study that was highlighted by the mayor of Portland,
Yeah.
the 70% of the individuals involved is either as a assailant or as a victim. 70% of those were known as in the legal system. Okay, we need to work on enforcing and controlling that before saddling the responsible gun owner with additional.
Okay. But like I said, we got to do more work on the front end before this stuff
Absolutely,
comes out.
absolutely.
That's
We
very,
need to work together.
We got to work together. We've got
Yeah.
to work if, in fact, we're going to solve this problem.
Right.
You got me?
Yeah.
Because these are still young people. We don't have a draft anymore. You know, and we don't have as many so-called ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps, in schools. That's a good piece because
Yep. There are some,
they
by
get
the way.
trained. Yeah,
There are some.
I went through a course down south that way, and so we were introduced to weapons accordingly. Man, it was great. You know what I mean?
Proper respect.
A lot of respect aspect of it, and the competition and the camaraderie and all this kind of stuff that goes with that aspect of it. We're not doing that anymore. You got me? So I'm just saying the school system is an education piece aspect of it, and just educating the public per se.
This program will decimate a blooming shotgun program that is in our schools. We have more often than not, high schools have a shotgun program now.
Well, shotguns
Yeah.
tend to be, you know, people understand about the bird shot and this and that, but the assault weapons is another issue.
Right.
You got me? You just spend a little bit more time educating them
this
about
ballot
what-
measure, this ballot measure makes those shotguns not available.
But again, it being on the front end,
Yeah.
I mean that was the positive side,
Yeah.
the shotgun aspect of it. But when you put but you look at this assault weapons, and you got these kids, and then you got the media, you got movies, and this, that, and the other. I mean, it's just
There
it's
needs
just
to be
like-
proper respect
oh,
and
boy, I
proper
tell you.
responsibility.
So
Absolutely.
You're an asset. You're an asset. We're gonna definitely have to. Really, you have to come on back again, if you don't mind. You can come on back, and
Sure.
we've spent 30 minutes, but you notice John didn't speak up right now, but.
Yeah, we got to give him a chance.
Oh yeah, no, you're the one guy.
Well, one of the
Go on,
things
John.
that's about,
You got about a minute.
the real iffy on is the fees, and some of those fees for like the permit to purchase, all they have to do is run it real high because it's going to be really tough on poor people. And many times poor people live in bad areas and they need a firearm more than we do.
The recent debates in Bend and in Eugene indicated that those fees could be as high as $500, which means many people are going to be not going to be able to legally purchase a rifle.
But now they're stealing, and they're just sitting there.
This law is not going to change that.
I'm just.
This law is not going to change
No,
that.
I understand that, but we still got the violence with that weapon. We have
Yeah.
the lack of respect for weapons
Yeah.
at this point in time. So I think the more
Training.
the more we talk about this stuff, I
Training,
think
responsibility.
we have to do that. That's right.
Yeah.
So this has
Be
been
safe.
great. This
Be
has
safe.
been great. This has been great. Sturgeon. I gotta remember that.
The other one.
Well, this has been great. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Please, hopefully, we're gonna have John. You want to get him back here again?
Anytime.
Okay, good. We'll set up a time for you if you don't mind.
I guess he's signing me up.
Oh yeah. You on? We're gonna get into this other discussion, and hopefully we can get a reverend to come in here and chat with him a little bit. I don't know too many of them, but I'll call them. Don't worry about it.
I don't know.
Everything's good. This is community television. We're trying to solve a problem. Got me?
Okay.
Is that fair? And I know you're a straight guy.
All right.
Again, thanks again for being on the show.
Okay.
John,
Thank you.
thanks for bringing this gentleman here.
Okay.
And Kerry did a good job, and you've given that other side, okay, which is very important. Folks, thank you very much. We'll see you next week. We had quite a show today, and back to what you believe in. What do you think?